Hi there. So happy to have you with us. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, president of Heckman Financial. And so many people think of retirement as a destination. You know, we all work hard, we save, and then we arrive. But for millions of women, retirement is not a destination. It's a marathon that could run 30, maybe even 40 years. And the plan that many of them have may not last that long. So, Eric, tell us, what is it about a woman's retirement that makes it so fundamentally different from a man's?
Yeah, well, I mean, good questions for sure. There's a lot of issues here, right? One, of course, is they live a lot longer, so that's one aspect, right? So you're going to be around for a lot longer and have a lot more years, and often they're also taking care of somebody. I've got more and more clients. It's amazing how many clients now that are retired, with parents still alive. I mean, these parents are often in their 90s or hundreds. And so, you think you were going to be retired from work to hang out and do stuff, but lots of times they retired and they're still taking care of them. Have a lot that also are taking care of, of grandkids too. So, so it can kind of go both ways, right? So, yeah, so that's one of those things that, is more complicated for women because there's a lot more things going on, and they also sometimes haven't paid attention to their money as much. And sometimes they've set that to the side, and so yeah, that's one of the big issues. Is I think a lot of women aren't really focused enough on that.
So I think about a marathon, right? I used to hate to run long distances. I was more in track. I would run the 100-yard dash. So running a marathon, I cannot imagine somebody moving the finish line, farther and farther. How frustrating and even frightening. You're like, when is this ever going to end? Can I do it? So if longevity is the central problem for women, then what does that mean for someone who's been following the conventional rules of retirement? And are those rules still working?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's the kind of famous or infamous 4% rule, and this was developed in the 90s when interest rates were really high and you could put a lot of money in bonds and such. But it was really more geared to a shorter term retirement, not 30, 40 years, because people just didn't think about that back then, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, inflation, as we've seen in the last few years, has spiked up, and when people say that inflation's only now 2 or 3%, but it was 4 or 5 or something like that, it doesn't mean the prices went down. It just means they slowed how much they're going up by, right? So what got more expensive didn't get cheaper. It's just getting, less expensive each year than it compared to before. So, that can really eat up a lot of your money in retirement. And, and then also a lot of women, they have to all of a sudden figure this all out. They've often, said, oh, I'll just let my husband take care of it. And then, sometimes they have no interest in finance. And then all of a sudden they're in charge, and they could be in charge for 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years. So it could be a long time. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things that women really should be focused on.
Yeah. So, talking about women managing their finances alone at some point, I've experienced that with two of my best friends. They've lost their husbands early, and I'm guessing both of them, the husbands were managing their finances. So I watch them and I see, them, facing this challenge for the very first time in their life. But for many women, they're even arriving at retirement with less saved than their male counterparts in the first place. So what creates that gap before retirement even starts?
Yeah, well, I mean, lots of times, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, if they were unpaid caregivers for either the kids, when maybe they took time off from workforce, or they've had to take care of the parents. Years ago, I had a client that she was did kind of the office machine, like copier sales and other stuff, equipment. And she was, I think she had maybe a little bit of base, but she was mostly all commission. But she had to all of a sudden take care of her two elderly parents, and she couldn't work as much. And then all of a sudden her income dropped, and then she finally had to stop working. And then when her parents passed away, half the assets went to her brother, who never did anything in terms of care, and her, who basically took out 4 years of earnings, 4 years of savings, and and didn't make any money really during that time frame. And she got the same share that he got, which was, didn't seem quite as fair, right?
Not really.
Yeah. And, so lots of times, I mean, for her, it means a smaller 401k, it means smaller, assets saved up, smaller Social Security check. And that's what happens to a lot of women, that they took those times off for that. So, so that's one of those big things that, I think really that people really need to learn a lot more about. And, one of the big things that we do here at Heckman Financial is make sure people are educated, that they've got the materials, because, we don't want to just say, oh, you have to come talk to us. That's the only way you can get any information. No, we want to give you some information right away. So we set up a digital toolbox that has things like, will you last as long as your money, right? And, our Social Security timing decisions. Are you paying too much taxes in retirement? A copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth. And, and then of course, if you do want to set a time to meet with us, you can do that too. So super easy way to get all this info is just the text word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or click the link below online.
And we're so happy you joined us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with certified financial planner Eric Heckman. And Eric and his team, Team Heckman, put together a complete plan for you. So it's a full retirement plan, and everything that you need to look at in retirement, they can help you with. So we're so happy you're joining us. Hopefully you're getting a lot out of this. And a lot of women listening right now, Eric, might be thinking, my current plan maybe doesn't reflect any of what Eric is mentioning. How do you help someone get from where they are to a plan built for their actual reality?
Yeah, no, that's excellent question. So, what I find is most people, the biggest concern is really just, am I going to be okay, right? Is this money going to last? Am I going to be fine? And usually, am I going to be okay again? And so, so there's a couple things in that. Is first and foremost is that income and spending plan. So looking at where's that money coming from? Obviously if somebody single, then it's just the one source. If they were married, but all of a sudden they're widowed, there's one less Social Security check. But a lot of the other costs don't go down, like property taxes, insurances, a lot of other things. And so now what we want to do is look at that and say, okay, if I'm going to be spending, on average this much per month for the rest of my life with inflation, with my Social Security coming in, with my other assets, will this money make it? And, if it does, hey, that feels great, right? You're going to be happy. If it says you're running out of money at 95, okay, hopefully, you got a house to back up on and other things. If it says you're running out of money at 70 or 75, well, that's not good.
That's a little too soon.
Yeah, it means you might work a little longer, might need to change your plans, retire someplace, other place, or, downsize, or, something. But you don't want to be 74 when you find out you're going to run out of money at 75. So, we do want to have this ahead of time, so at least And, and so that's one of the big keys, I think, is just knowing about those things, and then knowing where to put the money, knowing, which pot of money should I take first? That's another big one. So there's a lot to be involved in all that stuff. And so, once you have that income plan, then it tells you what your investments should be doing. It dictates the lifetime taxes you're going to pay. So can we get that lowered? Obviously, healthcare and legacy are two other big issues. So those are the 5 areas that we always go over: is income, investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy. So you need to have a plan for that. But what we do is have a first meeting first, just to find out what concerns you are. And then there's no cost to having that second meeting, and we can actually show you where you're headed. So if you want to take advantage of that, or you just want to get some of that great info in our digital toolbox, just text word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Click the link below.